Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. Yeah, well, he's very much a details person, and I'm very much not a details person. Because I see the big picture. Like I see that I want to help as many teachers as I can get into real estate now. Let's go. Let's start investing. Let's make you some money. Let's buy you some wiggle, and let's reinvent the teaching landscape. So I've got like this huge idea and this huge, thing that I want to do. And it's like, wait a second. You got to have at least one person that bites before you start thinking you can change the entirety of the teaching landscape. So yeah, got to back up just a bit, but that's okay. And hopefully as people watch this and download it and all of those good things, they realize that it's okay to have those big ideas. It's one of the best things that I've found being in this space with real estate investors is that my ideas that were crazy to my friends before, like so much that they would laugh at me a little bit, aren't crazy to people in this space. Like I can say, I want to be a billionaire someday. Yes, billionaire with a B. And they don't even bat an eye. They're just like, heck yeah, awesome, way to go. Whereas before I would have said that to like people in my school, like my students never balked at it. But if I said it around certain teachers, they would be like, yeah, right. So the support that we get in the real estate investing space, I think is phenomenal. And it's a really great thing because it helps so much. And I'm not as afraid to share certain ideas because they're willing to give you feedback, especially if they've already tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like there's a whole lot of new ideas out there. And so when you put an idea out there, even if you think it's new, you're going to find somebody that's probably done something similar to it that can tell you what their experience was so that you can rework it and not have to reinvent the wheel. Maybe you just have to add a spoke or something.
Yeah, no, definitely in this space, everybody's been very, very willing to help, and they're very not judgmental at all in this in the multifamily. They're very go big or go home kind of thing, and just keep persisting, keep at it. You're gonna get to your goal, And so that mindset and being around those people like continuously helps push us as well.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So, I mean, like you mentioned, like there's no such thing as small goal. And as long as you have a goal, especially in this multifamily space or in the real estate space in general, there's so many supports, and there's always, like people to help you out and connect you with the right people. So
yeah, it's really awesome.
We really love this space very much.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was like entering into a whole different world. Because I've had these big, crazy ideas my whole life. And in, 40 years, I got real used to being laughed at because of them. And so it was literally like walking into a whole new world when I could have those big, crazy ideas and all of a sudden they weren't big and crazy. And so that was really neat. And I was like, oh, Jason, which is my husband, like, we found our tribe. These are our people. It's like nerds of the world unite.
And it's so interesting because like when you get into this space, you think that everybody knows about it because everybody that you're surrounding with talks about it. But then when you get out of this space, you realize like, oh, it's a much smaller community than you actually realize.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've been dealing with probably for about the last 4 weeks really hard is that idea that you're a fraud, because I'm around people that they know their stuff. They know it really well. And it makes me feel like I know nothing. And so then I start feeling like, I shouldn't have a show. I shouldn't have a podcast. I shouldn't have any of this stuff because I'm nothing like them. And so it takes a lot to get out of your head and get out of that piece. But actually, I was listening to a podcast when I was taking my son to ABA this morning, and it was Andy Frisella, which we're doing 75 hard phase 1 now, but we've gotten into it a little bit. And one of the things that he said was, number one, that every successful person has that voice. Everybody has that voice that says, you know, do you really know what you know? Are you a fraud? He said that it's not there to pull you away from what you're doing, but it's there to keep you in check. And he actually used some explicative words, but basically it was like, so you don't become a jerk. It keeps you humble. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's a hard battle. It really is. And when I'm out of the space talking to people around town or people on my street, when Jason and I are walking and they want to talk about real estate, I realize, oh, I'm not as stupid as I think I am sometimes. I know more than I think I do. But in the space, when you're with people that are in it 24/7, mm-hmm. you start feeling out of place. And that voice comes in saying, oh, Angel, is this the space you're really supposed to be in? And it's just, I don't know, hearing that today, I really needed to hear it today when I heard it on that podcast of that's what keeps you humble, so that you don't turn into some, you think you know it all kind of jerk. So
yeah,
because I just,
and then we also, in exactly how you feel too. But then we also think back to the really, really successful people. They had to start off somewhere too. And so in the very beginning, they were probably very similar to us where, they didn't have much knowledge or much background. And then they've grown and grown and grown and continuously developed. And then look how successful they are, how intelligent they're able to speak to all the real estate investing. And so as long as we keep pushing ourselves and just continue to grow, one day we'll get there.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And it's so important to surround ourselves with people that are moving forward. Right. And I think that a lot of times people get comfortable with their circle and then they stagnate there. And just kind of going back to some of the podcasts I've heard is, it's okay to live that normal life. If that's the life you want to live, that's fine. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be someone that is going to be a high achiever and be pushing the envelope all the time, you have to surround yourself with people in that circle. People that are going to push you, that are going to accept your big ideas, help you attain your big ideas, and then help you get the next big idea. So it's that, I guess it kind of falls in line with that idea of success is a moving target. Like you achieve what you thought success was, and then you realize success is still just a little bit out of reach. So you keep moving forward for it. So that's it's been a neat progression to try and continue to find people that are where we want to be, where we want to go, and making your way into that circle, because it's we can't make everybody like us all the time. We can't make anybody like us, but not everybody's going to like you. And so you have to find the circle that's moving forward that you fit in as well. And so it can be a little time consuming sometimes, but it happens. It's, I would even venture to say that it's a little bit easier right now because so many people are doing their meetups on Zoom. When you have to travel to a meetup, I mean, do you get more out of a meetup when you're face to face? Probably, just because you're in the same physical space. But I've gotten to know a ton of people from Zoom meetings and Zoom meetups that I probably would not have met for years and years if I got to meet them at all. So I've really enjoyed the meetups on Zoom and getting to meet people through Zoom. And I don't know how much longer it's going to go. I know there's schools shutting down right now. What's going on in California? Are they shutting things down there too?
Yes, I think in California right now, it's the case is pretty high, surging again, and we are the second largest surge in the country right now. And I think we kind of slow response here in California. As they just reverted back of not having indoors dining. But I haven't heard anything about locking downs or closing the school. So it was just interesting of how slow we are compared to the first time around, where in California we were the lead in terms of shutting everything down, and we were the first one to shut everything down. And now it seems like we will be the last one to shut anything down at all.
Wow. Yeah, well, I was reading want to say it was yesterday, I was reading that New York City is closing its schools down.
Yep.
But then they had, what was their metric? 3%. It's like if positive rates got to 3%, they were going to shut down, which seems really low to me, looking at what's going on in Dallas Fort Worth, because their rates are far beyond 3% right now. And when I think about like at my own daughter's middle school, I would say 20% of the teaching staff has been out because of positive rates or just having to quarantine. And if I've got 3 kids in 3 different schools, and when I look at the data that I'm getting and I extrapolate that out, there's probably 75 to 100 teachers out right now. And so I hear a lot of the argument of, well, remote learning, the kids get further and further behind. They're not doing any work. They're not doing this. But if the teacher's not there, they're going to be getting behind anyway. Even with stellar lesson plans and a script to follow, a sub isn't going to be as intimately aware of what the subject matter is as the teacher would be. So, let's see. Got another comment here. Not to scare anyone, but the hospitals I am working at, we have 120 patients hospitalized. We are maxed capacity.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, special thanks to all our healthcare workers out there. I mean, our nurses, our doctors, our emergency doctors. I mean, this is not something easy to tackle. Like when the hospital is at a full capacity, everybody jump in, and the virus is very contagious. So I mean, like our heroes, like battles every day to take care of these patients, and we had to be, like all of us had to do our job, protecting everybody else, wearing masks and hand sanitizer, wash hand, basic hygienes, and just making sure, like social distance, and like helping everybody, saving lives. So.
Oh, and Marcella says, bringing it back to real estate investing, plan your investments accordingly. So I actually know Marcella, and they actually just got a quad that they took all the way to the studs. And
Wow.
personally, her and her husband, we did the whole thing. And then they were able to get some of the people that came in that helped them were, I don't want to get it wrong. They were from Brazil, or was it South America for sure. And Marcella can speak Spanish. And so they were able to have some broken conversations, but that group of people helped them a little bit. And then they had the electrician that came in, helped rewire things, and they're doing a community area with washers and dryers. And so it's really cool. I love watching. I like residential multifamily a lot too, just because it's smaller. You can see how multifamily works. It still spreads out that vacancy risk, so you still get to mitigate some of that risk, and it's neat. I think it's a good way to get started, because at least it's a multifamily, and you can start thinking about it in terms of, okay, what about if it's an 8 unit or a 10 unit or a 20 unit, and then you start building from there. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty cool. But kind of backing up a little bit, you said that when you first heard about syndication, you were like, wow, normal people can invest in apartments, right? And it makes me think about the eviction moratoriums, because I don't think the average public society understands that it's normal people, it's regular, typical people that come together as a group and own these apartments. They assume it's some big, rich billionaire that owns those apartments. And so I don't think they understand that by taking advantage of the fact that we can't evict due to COVID, that they're hurting someone basically just like them.
Right.
And so it's almost like we have a new duty to educate people on the fact that not everybody that owns apartments is some rich billionaire. Some of us we're paycheck to paycheck just like you. And maybe we allowed our lifestyle to grow with the paycheck, which we probably shouldn't have done. But we're still in a similar situation. And I never knew that until I learned about syndication. because I assumed it was like who Grant Cardone. I assumed he's the person that owns all the apartments, or, it's these big institutions, it's these REITs, and that's who owns all these apartments. And that's not the reality at all. I would even say that the majority of apartments are owned by typical investors. So I don't know. So what changes do you think need to happen with what's going on right now, like with COVID and with the eviction moratoriums? And what would you suggest for people that are trying to get in right now that maybe don't have the same level of knowledge that you do now? But I mean, to me, this would be a really scary time to get in. But I mean, what do you think?
So are you talking about passively or actively, or just in general in real estate?
We can hit all of that, but maybe like in general first, and then kind of break it down from there.
Sure. So I think in general, especially with this COVID time, just be a little bit more conservative. I mean, getting into any type of real estate investing, you should always be, we tend to be a little bit more conservative to begin with, but I think now we're even more so conservative as we're looking at deals and places that we want to invest in. We're just, being more and more conservative. I think that that's probably one of the bigger things to look at. And then to make sure that if you're investing with somebody, just making sure that you're always choosing the right sponsor. It goes back to that know, like, and trust the sponsor, the person that you're working with, because if you can have a great deal, but if the sponsor is not a great one, they could make or break the deal. And so you just want to make sure that like, and trust them.
Yeah, and awesome. To add to that, I would say to jump into the real estate, one of the things is to get yourself educated. Like Aileen mentioned earlier, we pick up a book and studies, but she also, like, one of the other things is that we also listen to podcasts like yours, and to get yourself educated as much as possible, and talk to different investors who already been there and already done it, and what lessons learned, and what are the challenges and what to look out for. And that will be the first step is to get yourself educated, so that you know what you get yourself into before you actually invest your $50,000 or $100,000 of your hard-earned money into a syndication deal.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I would also say, just kind of going a little bit further with the education piece is, if you really don't know where to start, if this is 100% new to you, start looking for a mentor. And don't just go with one. Like, ask people, get some word of mouth, get some referrals. And I say that just because, well, let me go further. And don't worry about the price. I know that sounds crazy. And you're like, oh, well, you're just saying that because you have a little bit of money. No, I'm saying that because I cost us $30,000 when we were first getting a mentor. And $30,000 is like the equivalent of what some people make in a year. But for me, I was very much driven by price. And I saw a program that it was somebody we really wanted to go with, but there was a cheaper one. And it was like $4,000 difference, literally. And we still went with the cheaper one. We stagnated in that program for over a year. And by the time we backed up and went with the person we originally wanted to go with, the price had increased $30,000. So I cost us $30,000 and about a year and a half of time that we could have been moving forward in real estate. So as weird as it sounds, and as just anti to what you would think would be the case, don't worry about the price. You will figure out how to pay for it. And honestly, I really believe that a truly good mentor that really wants to help you where you're at is going to work with you. They're going to figure out some way to help you get it paid off or pay into it, and maybe they won't. Maybe they don't have to. But maybe that's not the mentor for you. Because there's mentors that can help, like there's mentors that can help you when you're first starting out. There's mentors that can help you when you're like a mid-level, or there's mentors that can help you when you are at the top, but you want to keep going. There's mentors for everybody out there. And I think the other thing that happens when you make that realization is you realize that there's something out there for everyone. And just because I use a mentor doesn't take away your ability to use the same mentor. And it's just getting out of that scarcity mindset, which if you're an economist or even just out there in the world, it's really easy to understand what scarcity is. I eat a candy bar, you can't. There's only one candy bar. Scarcity is a really easy concept. But when you look at the big picture, especially like when it comes to finding deals or, getting another rental property, there's enough out there for everyone. When it comes to mentors, when it comes to masterminds, there's one out there that is specifically been created by the universe for you. And you just have to find it. And you can do that by asking around, by listening to people, because if someone is having a good experience, they're going to tell you all about it all day long. So, and I would talk about mine all day long, but I kind of have to be a little careful because I don't want to, yeah.
No, absolutely. We pay so much money for like college education. And so when you think about it, you're actually investing in yourself when you get a mentor. And so it's like, well, we don't really hesitate or bat an eye when we go choose a college and we're paying these high tuition fees, but why wouldn't you want to invest in yourself afterwards? So if you get into that mindset and thinking about like you wanted to grow yourself and invest in yourself, what does that cost, And so by doing that, I think that just getting to that mindset really definitely will help a lot. So totally agree on the mentorship part of it.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So, I mean, for the mentorship, like you mentioned, like there's always a mentor out there for everyone. And, just making sure that you, like trust your gut. And when you talk to the mentors, do you resonate yourself with the mentor? Do you feel like there's a chemistry, there's a connection there? Because this person's going to be working with you and establishing a goal for you and helping you achieving to a higher level of yourselves or your business. So making sure that you have expectation of what exactly that you try to get out of the mentor. A lot of things, like we hear a lot that say, oh, you get a mentor in real estate, you're expecting the mentor to be able to, find you deals, to set up the system for you, to do everything for you. So that's kind of a little bit of a misconception. You find a mentor, they help guiding you, but they're not going to do all the work for you. So just making sure that that expectation is there as well. So.
Yeah. Now, to kind of piggyback off of that, you can purchase programs that give you pre-made systems. And some of them will include a CRM, and they'll include all of these things that help you get your business going. But that's different from the mentor that's going to help you use those things.
Right.
So, I mean, like with our mentor, one of the first things he said was, you need to have a list of 100 accredited investors and work on that list. And so like we worked on it, and we put our list together, and that was kind of our thing. And now my husband's wanting to go on the active side of things, and I'm just kind of, it's scary to me. And I think that's, knowing that it's scary to me, it should be signaling to me that this is the direction I need to be going. But it's not. It's more like, oh, but I'm not afraid in single family homes. I'm not afraid in residential multifamily. Maybe I should back up to my comfort level. But it's one of the things that I found, especially with doing our 3-day virtual summit, that very first one was, when you first think about it, holy night, it is so far outside your comfort zone. But then it's like your comfort zone catches up. And so even though it feels very uncomfortable at the start, it gets very comfortable very quickly. So even if someone were, say, afraid to start looking for a mentor because they're afraid to spend, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, go ahead and start exploring it. and start small. You don't have to start at $10,000, $30,000. You don't have to start big like that. But I will say that had we just started where we wanted to start, I would have saved us $30,000. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess.